Hi,
My name's Allie,
and I'm
and
Evan.
we're here again from theyoungfolks.com. This time to talk to you about new directors in Hollywood to look for, because this year seems very dominated by kind of old favorites, Hollywood masters. We have Martin Scorsese, Spike Jonze, Wes Anderson just released his new trailer, which obviously is until next
He
year.
did?
Yeah, that was
Sweet.
released today. So, there's a lot of big name directors releasing movies this year, like Alfonso Cuarón too. So I thought it was interesting to look at amongst the shuffle of all the big names to see the new names that are coming out with movies this year, because they're going to be our generation directors, and it's kind of nice to predict who's going to be the heavy hitters in the next few years.
Yeah, I also found it interesting thinking about this, knowing in context that last year's Oscars, Lincoln was made purely as an Oscar movie, and that Steven Spielberg himself, the Spielberg, had trouble getting Lincoln made into a feature film. It almost ended up being a TV drama. So that just goes to show that like some of these people that we grew up with, our parents grew up with, don't still have that lasting power that they used to. Now they're producer credits.
I mean, obviously Spielberg doesn't have that big of a problem, but
well,
it is interesting to see that name isn't always going to override content, and I think that's interesting. And my first guy to look for is pretty obvious, and he's the reason why we're making this list.
He is.
It's Steve McQueen,
who recently
released 12 Years a Slave.
Actually, comes out tomorrow.
It comes out in limited release tomorrow and everywhere, I think, on the 25th. And before this, he had Shame, which was
Michael Fassbender.
Should have been an Oscar nominee, and he had Hunger, which kind of put him on the map. And he was an artist, so it's obvious that he's a visually arresting director, but he's one that doesn't go overboard. He uses very simplistic images. There's no quick jumps, harsh cuts, nothing like that, but he knows how to completely frame a scene so that it's beautiful on its own. And it takes a real artist's eye to make sure he accomplishes something without any kind of gadgets. There's nothing spectacularly over the top in terms of the method he uses, but he knows how to capture a shot, and by doing that, he's made three of the most visceral films I've ever been to. I bodily react to him.
The only one I ended up seeing was Shame, but I know all throughout Shame as a slice of life film, I was just genuinely impressed with so many of the composition of each shot, especially some of those long tracking shots that he had in that movie, were just
they're meticulously put together, and he doesn't make sacrifices for his content. I mean, there are some emotionally heavy scenes in Shame, in Hunger, and in 12 Years a Slave especially.
I can only imagine.
He doesn't pull away from them, He composes a shot so that everything he wants to be in it is there, and then he lets the scene play out, and we're forced to watch it. And I think it takes a truly innovative director to be allowed to do that and not, there's nothing lost for keeping it on one spot for a long time, and that's rare. And I truly think he is the guy we should be watching, because he's made three amazing films, and each one hugely different from the other.
When I first heard of him, I actually thought he was the Steve McQueen from Bullet. So that was an interesting mistake.
Not quite.
So one of the ones that I picked out was Josh Trank, who's only made one film so far, and it was Chronicle last winter of 2012, I guess, which was I would say it falls into the genre of handy-cam science fiction, kind of in the same sense of Blair Witch Project, Cloverfield, but it took it in a direction where it was a superhero movie that tried to be more than just a superhero movie. It went and made a character piece, three individually very compelling characters, and obviously a lot of it goes to the screenwriters. I can't remember his name, the kid who made the Death of Superman bit on YouTube, but the way that Josh edited everything together in a very contemporary style, using just modern cameras and just I don't know.
And
It's great. And he's going to be making the reboot for Fantastic Four for 20th Century Fox. I know, big sigh, but
it's the only reason I'm remotely hopeful for it.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm in the camp where I really hope that and The Amazing Spider-Man and anything that doesn't belong to Marvel tanks so that they're forced to give it back. But even still, I'm just curious to see how this works out, much in the way I was curious about how someone who did an indie movie like Mark Webb with 500 Days of Summer would handle a property like that. Plus, very interesting rumors going around with Michael B. Jordan, which was a star in Chronicle, who's a great African-American actor, for the role of Johnny Storm. So that'll be an interesting mix-up. I don't know how they're going to handle Sue Storm, his sister. But
well, that didn't really matter in the first one either with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba. So.
That's true. Jessica Alba isn't even human. She's like an alien. So let's move on to your second one.
My second one is Richard Ayoade, and most of you probably know him from the British comedy The IT Crowd, but we don't know.
Moss!
He's like the new Wes Anderson.
Is he?
Yeah.
In what way?
He created Submarine in 2011, and it was probably one of the most honest coming-of-age stories I've ever seen. And what he managed to do is, and which is hard, especially for a first-time feature director, is he manages to bridge numerous genres and make it not be jarring. You know, there was drama, humor, there's an oddball sweetness to it, and he has this certain wit, and it goes really well with the coming of age genre. And he also has an eye for contrast, which is also rare. You know, like Wes Anderson, who, you know, his set designs speak for themselves.
So you mean color contrast, not just like character? Like,
yeah, I mean color contrast most for the Wes Anderson's aspect, because, you know, he had this, especially with the grays and reds, like those hues, I mean, they just pop on screen, and he really knew how, I don't know, it's just like, again, it's composition.
It's visually
like Steve
compelling,
McQueen. Yeah, it's visually compelling. You want to watch it. It's very beautiful. It's almost like, you know, moving painting. And I think he's one to look for, especially because he just had the double premiere at Toronto Film Festival with Jesse Eisenberg, and it's getting rave reviews.
I only saw the trailer.
Because it's just like, it's just different, and it's a quirkiness that works. It's not a quirkiness that's like overwrought and that's there just to be that kind of like cute offbeat thing. He just has his own air, his own personal style, and it comes through tremendously in his films.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to actually talk about Duncan Jones right now, who, if you haven't seen, he's made two films, both of which I think we've both seen. One was Moon, starring Sam Rockwell, which I think is one of the best science fiction films that has come out
and one of the best male performances in years.
That as well, and mostly a solitary performance, other than, you know, a weird twist, and Kevin Spacey as essentially
his
Hal.
Voice.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey's voice. I don't know, and there's just something about, I personally felt like Moon was like my personal 2001: A Space Odyssey, because by the time I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey, I'm like, meh, Kubrick, I'm not digging you today. I was having an off day when I watched that movie.
The cinephiles will be on your ass for that.
Yep.
And I love it.
But he's also made Source Code, which was an interesting science fiction film starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
That was better than you thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go into it expecting much, and it wasn't, like, an amazing thing, but it was a fun theater experience, and once once the twist gets revealed to you, it's a great twist. Does it warrant rewatchability? Maybe not so much, but I think that he has a very inventive style of putting these things together, and I'm curious about him being put on the project to make a film adaptation of World of Warcraft, which came out of left field a couple weeks ago, as Sam Raimi was attached to that for years.
That's been in production hell for so long. I mean,
not as long as
I
Wonder Woman.
have no idea how that's going to work out. I have no idea, especially if they're doing like the Panda expansion world.
They wouldn't do it.
Who knows? I hope not, right? But we'll see. I mean, he's a great
Craft
director.
heads? Do they call them craft heads? Warcraft heads? Comment, see what you think. And then last one.
My third is Sarah Polley.
Oh, I saw her in Splice. That was a terrible movie.
Well, she's a better director, I think. She's done Away From Her, Take This Waltz with Seth Rogen and Michelle Williams, and Stories We Tell, her new documentary. And I like her. I mean, I wish I could have added so many female directors, but the fact is there's not a lot of, like, newcomers who are allowed to do more than one film. So I'm going with the one that is the best well-known and kind of accepted by the industry to keep doing more films. And I love her because she creates a subtle atmosphere with her films. Nothing is grandiose, but she, like, fully creates this world where it's believable. You know, you can see humans acting the way they act in the world she acts in, and it's laid back. So even though there's, like, a lot of drama and Take This Waltz, it's nothing ridiculous. You know, you think it could happen. It's a very real-life drama with real humans, and she also is a fan of long shots, and the way she uses them to build, like, tension, and, like, in Take This Waltz, there's this one long shot, and it's just this passion-riddled long shot, and, you know, we shouldn't be able to tell this just by two people walking and not speaking to each other, but she manages to, like, you know, focus enough on the actors' faces, focus enough on where they are and where it's set, and you're able to tell that, and I think, you know, it's impressive. You don't see that a lot, and again, for a female director, to have 3 amazing films out there, like, completely applauded by the critics, I just have to give it up to her. I'm glad that she's doing what she's doing, and I wish there was more of it.
Oh, I'm only just realizing how drastically different how each of our picks are.
I know!
Because my last one is a gentleman named Gareth Edwards, whose name you may have heard a buzz on the internet as of late. He is the director for the current reboot of Godzilla, which just recently wrapped production, as well as the teaser, and in some cases, I've seen both the theatrical trailer for. And as a lifelong Godzilla fan, as I've mentioned, I just exploded. I cried. But
I sent it to him on his birthday.
You did. That was the best birthday present ever. Getting to see that trailer. I was sitting in an office with the door shut. I was supposed to be making phone calls, and I'm just, like, weeping. I'm like, this roar is the most incredible thing. I was, like, watching it on my iPhone. Anyway, so Gareth Edwards can be credited for one film, which is called Monsters. You can go watch it on Netflix, actually. It was a small, very low-budget film. The budget was about $800,000. Most of that was spent on cameras. What?
That's, like, very small.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's super small. So most of that was spent on cameras. You can tell while watching it because the key to that movie is the cinematography and the way that he sets an atmosphere. He sets a very somber atmosphere. It's set in South America where a journalist tries to find his boss's daughter and tries to get her across the border, and he falls in love with her. But the catch is that the environment that they're surrounded in is post an alien invasion. So you're seeing, like, these places, like, kind of like in Panama and just kind of like, you know, Central Southern America that are already kind of destroyed and in rubble, and, like, these people, but it's put together in a way that actually tells a story. And there are only 2 actors. The rest of the acting is all extras in the film, and it was seamless to me. So the two leads, they were bad. They were really, really bad. Most of the writing was improvised.
But in Godzilla, he gets to work.
But in Godzilla, he works with Bryan Cranston, Elizabeth Olsen, and Aaron Taylor Johnson. So, I mean, he's got a star-studded cast for that movie, and
this is a film that could actually make or break a career, though, too.
I know, and I'm really, honestly, I'm really hoping. I hope that this guy succeeds in his career. But if he screws up this movie, he doesn't get anything from me. So this is one that I'm keeping an eye on. So I think that's it. That's about it.
There's many more directors out there, but I wanted to mention James
Gunn, but I mean, he's making Guardians of the Galaxy. What are you gonna do? Anyway.
But you know, it's hard in this field for them to break out and, like, have a lasting career. So. All right. We got the 6 that are most prominent right now.
At least the ones that we're thinking about that are on our minds.
But thank you for joining us again.
Yeah. We're on theyoungsfolks.com. We got Twitter, we got Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube page because we're trying to put up a video for you guys to enjoy every week, just to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the movies.
And again, let us know what we can do better because we always accept.
Yeah, please give us any kind of constructive criticism that you'd like.
Good.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we'll see you next week.
All right, bye guys.